Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Classes of Mail. My name is Alan Gigax, and I am here once again with Michael Brazenly.
Hi everybody.
Because we need his expertise, because we are continuing to read the the 814?
921.
Oh yeah, the EL-921, that's it. And that is the supervisor's guide to handling grievances.
Right.
And this is the part that we've really been waiting for.
Yeah.
Because the big grievance that they like to hand out is discipline-related grievances. Or, I mean,
how they're
most
doing
of the
the
grievances.
discipline.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the grievances are discipline.
Yeah. So this explains how management is supposed to discipline carriers.
Right. It's skipping ahead a little bit. Right. First, how they're supposed to mete out discipline. And then second, how they're supposed to handle grievances related to discipline.
Yeah, this is a discipline of all employees, so not just the carriers.
Right.
That's what's in there.
Yeah,
So we might have to skip the ones where it's for clerks or rural.
We'll see. I have not read ahead. I just
Yeah,
kind of
it's
glanced
in there.
at it.
It's in there how to do that against all these other crafts.
All right, you ready to get to it?
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah, let's do it. All right, here we go. Discipline. This is now on page 23 of this little manual. Basic considerations. The first step in any discipline grievance is the discipline itself. As the issuing supervisor, it is imperative that you understand the discipline process. Management can only accomplish its mission through the effective management of people. Dude.
Effective, imperative.
That'd be nice.
Sounds like something they need to do it the correct
I know. They
way.
could use some work on that. Dude, you brought that up when we were chatting today, that you've looked at management's job description, and there was something in there about that. What was it in there that you would use?
I would use because their job description says they have to work with NAL, with the union.
Right. Yeah. They got to like cooperate with the union.
No, it didn't say cooperate. So work with the union.
Work with the exactly. And so on like Article 1731 grievances.
Yeah, on settling grievances and so forth, it says that on there.
Yeah. This is what you're expected to do in your job. Maybe you should do it.
Man, might as well make copies of it and just put it in your Article 17 violations.
That's it. So continuing on that theme, it goes on. How successful we are in working with people will determine to great measure whether the overall goals of the Postal Service are attained. Getting the job done through people is not an easy task. As a supervisor, you have responsibilities toward your employees, including let your employees know what is expected of them. If an employee is not meeting expectations, talk to him or her and gather documentation. So that's a step that they often skip. They don't talk to you. They don't instruct. They just go right to discipline.
Well, but it also says get documentation. What documentation are they talking about?
It's a good question. But dude, it's documentation that as a steward, we would request when we're going to fight the discipline is, can you document what steps you took before you resorted to discipline? And usually there isn't anything. What was your first step? Issue discipline.
Yeah. Where's your documents of
the
paperwork proof, basically proof.
Yeah. Right, exactly. All right. And then before formalizing discipline, let the employee explain and listen. And dude, there's an exclamation point there. And listen. Get the whole story. Employee responsibilities under our collective bargaining agreements include, but are not limited to, working safely, reporting for work regularly and as scheduled, cooperating with fellow employees and superiors. I don't like how it says superiors. Like, I get that they're my
because
supervisor.
It's management's term.
Yeah,
because this is a
this is their book. Yeah, that's right.
So
I am superior.
Yeah.
Performing quality work and following rules, orders, and directions. All right, so this is kind of the basic categories for which management might issue discipline, and we certainly see discipline under these categories, especially the one about report for work regularly and as scheduled. That's got to be number one discipline pretty much everywhere. And how often does it hold up? I mean, I don't know. That's something that's worth talking to. Like the next time I have, I know I've talked to Mike Cariff about this before because he's a business agent. But yeah, obviously attendance is the number one discipline. How successful is management at attendance? I don't know. In my experience, it's got to get pretty egregious before like somebody can actually get fired for attendance.
It was. I don't know if it's that way anymore.
Yeah, that's right. It's a question maybe next time I have him on the show. It's worth talking about.
Even, you can ask with James Henry. You can ask.
That's true. Any of these higher level people, they're going to have the perspective on it.
Yeah.
Because it may vary from branch to branch depending on the postmaster or whatever.
I feel like there's nothing happening because there's over 40,000 grievances being
I don't even want to get started on that.
So nothing's happening then.
We got to get through this so we can get to our next episode.
Exactly.
So, okay. The Weingarten Rule, investigatory interview. The Weingarten Rule affords each employee the right to representation during any investigatory interview, which the employee reasonably believes may lead to discipline. Under the Weingarten Rule, you must allow each employee the following rights when conducting an investigatory interview. All right, so dear listener, these are your rights. And again, management is being instructed here to make sure that you can exercise your rights. 1. Each employee has a right to be represented by a union steward during an investigatory interview, but not during an Article 16 discussion. If, before or at any time during the interview, an employee requests a union steward or in any other way indicates that he or she wants representation, you must do one of three things. There's that key word, must. Yep.
Yes.
A, you must provide a steward. B, must. That's right. B, you must end the interview. Or C, you must offer the employee the choice of A, continuing the interview without a steward, or 1, continuing the interview without a steward, or 2, having no interview at all, and therefore losing the benefit of the interview losing the benefit that the interview might have given to him or her. Oh my God, dude, that's so manipulative. All right, well, we can stop this interview, but that means you don't have a chance to defend yourself against these charges. Like, that can't be. Oh, dude, that's crazy.
That's not how
No, that is not how that
No.
works. No. Wow, dude. This is why it's so useful seeing management's playbook.
But you got to read the rest of it. Okay.
Dude, that's option C. You must offer the employee the choice of continuing without a steward or having no interview at all and therefore losing the benefit that the interview might have given to him or her.
Yeah. So no, it's not that. Losing the benefit means is that you're supposed to have full interview process. Okay?
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is it's not that it's being malicious. What it's basically saying is if you don't do it, you'll probably lose. Okay. That's how I'm getting it.
Okay. Dude.
Because the benefit is for management, right?
Yeah.
So if it's saying that you lose that benefit, means that management is going to lose the benefit of doing that discipline.
No.
That's how I look at it.
No, it says this is the manager presenting this to the employee. So they're claiming the employee would lose the benefit of the interview.
Yeah, but this is instruction. But the number 1, 2, or 3 is instructions to management, not to the employee.
It says you're offering the employee the choice of, not having the interview and therefore
number
losing
1
the
is
benefit.
you must get a steward. Number 2 says you must. Number 3
you have to
is
do one of these three things.
Yeah. So that's all saying you must, as in that's what a supervisor has to, not what a employee's got to do.
Right.
And that's what the benefit is saying. That, hey, if you're going to lose the benefit, I think it's going towards management.
Okay. All right. So the moral of the story for the employee, for our fellow listeners, is ask for your steward and do not agree to continue without the steward.
Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
If management it does not give you a steward, okay, and especially after you requested a steward, they're in the violation of the Weingarten rights,
right,
which is a Supreme Court ruling, and so they're in violation of the Supreme Court ruling, which they can get in big trouble for.
Sure.
So that is the reason why that they will lose that benefit because now they did not do full investigation.
I don't think that's the way it's written.
Hey, look,
I have the benefit of having the tablet in front of me and
I
seeing
know
how it's formatted.
But again, the Weingarten right is very specific. It's a Supreme Court ruling. So they have no choice. It says must and must. Third option doesn't say it's must, right?
Yeah, it does. You must offer the employee the choice
of 1 or 2.
Of either continuing the interview. No, it was A and B. This is C. Either 1, continuing the interview without a steward, or
so
2.
On that, I think it's up to make sure. Basically, they're going to try to blame it on the carrier. They may mistake that.
Yeah, forget about the benefit part. The part of 2 having no interview at all. So to me, that's the choice. Is like, well, dude, if you can't provide me a steward, then we ain't talking.
Because here's the thing. Article 16 says the management must do full investigation, right? So if you don't do an interview, that's not a full investigation.
I agree with you.
So in ways, they'll get thrown out. So like I said, the benefit is for the carrier if they don't do the interview.
Yeah, both ways benefit the carrier. It benefits the carrier if management screws up. It also benefits the carrier to have a steward there. Okay. When in doubt, it is better to provide a steward or contact your district labor relations office immediately. I agree, obviously. 2, The supervisor must tell the employee and steward the purpose and subject of the meeting before the meeting begins.
Yes.
This is absolutely a source of conflict between management and carriers.
Well, some supervisors say, I don't need to tell you this until we do the interview.
Right, exactly.
Okay? You can't do that. You're supposed to let us.
Yeah.
Because you know why?
They're trying to railroad us.
Well, Weingart Rice says that we can talk about what they're going to talk about before they sit down. Okay,
it's like you wrote this thing, because the next line, then if either the steward or the employee requests, adequate time must be given to them to talk privately before or during the interview. I used the hell out of that before I got blackballed as a steward, where I would go in, before we go in, okay, this is the strategy, what's the real issue? What are we going on? Tell me what's going on so we can formulate a defense. Because, dude, this whole idea that the investigative interview is the carrier's day in court, I take that part very seriously. We're not just going to go in there and just answer questions flippantly. We're going to answer questions with the mind to the defense of how we're going to defend this carrier.
Well, so I've had an incident with a supervisor.
Yeah,
would not tell me what it's going to be.
Right.
So she would start reading, what it's about. Then once I got the information what it's about, then I said, I need to have a meeting with my.
You're right, exactly. Yeah, because it says here, you give the time. The time must be given to them to talk privately before or during the interview. And yeah, I would go
during the interview too.
Yeah,
see?
And I would step out of the office and be like, "Hey, this is how we're going to address this question. I can't answer for you."
Again, I had a supervisor who wouldn't let me have that the interview.
So
after that, and so.
Right. And this is why this is so valuable to read this stuff.
And because they're violating the Weingarten rights, you know what my answer to the carrier was?
What?
Do not answer until you can get your Weingarten right.
Ah, that's good, dude. That's a good answer. Yeah, and you note that in your interview notes. Yeah, 100%.
So the supervisor refused to give the carrier a Weingarten right, but refusing to have interviews with the representative.
And dude, because it happened to you and me, that it also is happening to stewards and carriers all around the country. And that's the whole point of doing episodes like this, is now they know right from the other side that, yes, they're instructed that they have to let you meet, and this is empowering, and that's the point. Okay, moving on. Number 3, during the interview, you must permit the steward to participate. Dude, once again, where stewards get bullied, and they're like, no, you're just here to record the answers. You don't talk.
Yeah. So I've had also an issue with one of the supervisors and saying that you're only here to record. And this is what I said. Did the is that supposed to be representative, or is it just a secretary?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Because if it was secretary, then I understand to write things down. But I'm here as a representative.
Exactly.
So that means I'm not here just to write stuff down. That means I'm here to represent my carrier.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're in violation because you're not letting me represent my carrier.
Yeah. And in their own manual, which they obviously don't read, it says you must permit the steward to participate. He or she may ask questions, clarify the employee's answers, comment about the questions, discuss favorable facts, suggest others who have information, and advise the employee.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is an investigative interview, right?
Right.
Investigative.
Yeah.
Means the steward can ask questions too, but to find out the real reasons.
Well, there's certainly, it says here clarification.
So forth, to investigate.
Yeah.
Because we want to find the truth, right?
That's exactly right.
And so the steward has the right to.
The steward is not allowed to disrupt the meeting or tell the employee not to answer a question. Okay, that's interesting, because I have advised my carrier, don't answer that.
Okay. Well, here's the thing: is you can advise as a representative, right?
Okay.
So some of the questions would be a leading question where it automatically says they're assuming that this person is guilty.
Yeah.
And so on that, you do not have to answer because you're not saying that you're guilty.
Right. That's the problem. Is like when you're going to they're trying to discipline you for regular attendance, and then it says, "Why did you fail to maintain regular attendance?" Yeah, that
is a leading question.
Right. It's a catch question. Yeah. Yep, exactly.
And you do not have to answer that because they're automatically assuming that you're guilty.
All right.
An investigative interview is not supposed to be that. It's
that is
to
exactly right. It's supposed to be impartial.
Impartial and not blaming already. Yeah.
All right. So it goes on. If that happens, postpone the remainder of the meeting and consult your manager or district labor relations office immediately. 4, you may begin the interview, if appropriate, by saying the following. A, you are going to be asked a number of specific questions concerning specify the issue causing the interview. B, you are subject to disciplinary action if you refuse to answer or fail to respond truthfully to any questions. And C, your steward may advise you and participate in the interview, assuming the employee has requested a steward. All right. So that's all good. And now we get to after the interview. The next section of this guide is EL-921, the principles of just cause.
And that is important.
Oh, dude, these are good for everybody to know. In fact, I keep saying, I'm going to have an episode just on just cause where we kind of really go over each point.
But this is management's point of view of just cause. So let's find out.
The main purpose of any disciplinary action is to correct undesirable behavior on the part of an employee. All disciplinary actions must be for just cause, must. And in the majority of cases, the action taken should be progressive and corrective in nature. Once again, there it is, right in their own manual.
All actions has to be corrective in nature, right?
Well, it says the majority of cases. Yeah, so if it wasn't progressive, then they would have to explain why it falls out of this normal pattern. Yep. Yeah, I know a guy who just got a discipline. First offense, he's never been in any trouble for anything, and it was a 7-day suspension.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
exactly.
The things that they talk about where you can skip that process is if somebody got caught
like
selling
stealing
drugs,
or
selling drugs.
Something egregious, right.
Yeah, something egregious. So something like that happened here in Vegas. I don't know if you know. Is where the postal inspector go check the carrier because the carrier was like disappearing for like an hour. And so they checked the apartment and he was selling drugs out of the apartment.
Dude, that happened at my station where the carrier was busted for stealing Netflix DVDs back in the day when we used to deliver those. And he would break off of his route, go drop them off at home, and then come back to his route.
Yeah. And he got fired.
Yeah.
And you know what happened?
A union got him his job back?
Yes, he did. Yes, they did because they did it wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. All right, moving on. As stated earlier in this guide, it is typically the Postal Service's burden to prove that all disciplinary actions are issued for just cause. The definition of just cause varies from case to case, but arbitrators frequently divide the question of just cause into 6 sub-questions and often apply the following criteria to determine whether the action was for just cause. These criteria are the basic considerations that the supervisor uses before initiating disciplinary action. Discipline should not be issued if no is the answer to any of these questions. That's citable too, I think. If they answer no to any of these, then they shouldn't have issued discipline. Okay, the following is the list of 6 sub-questions. 1, is there a rule? If so, was the employee aware of the rule? Was the employee forewarned of the disciplinary consequences for failure to follow the rule? So that's 3 parts, all of that one.
Yeah, because if the carrier didn't know the rule, well, the whole action is you're supposed to correct the action, right?
Exactly. So the correction is
just
to making
let
them
the
aware of
carrier
the rule.
know what the rule is, and then next
Abide by
time
it
you say,
going
"Hey, I
forward."
told you the rule, and you still violate it." But but not until you tell them what the rule is.
Yeah. And what'll happen if they break the rule? Yeah, that's exactly right. It is not enough to say, well, everybody knows that rule, or we posted that rule 10 years ago. You should be prepared to present the document that supports that the employee knew or reasonably should have known the rule. Posting and location, previous discipline, relevant sections of handbook, regulations, etc. Certain standards of conduct are normally expected in the workplace, and it is assumed by arbitrators that employees should be aware of these standards. For example, an employee charged with intoxication on duty, fighting on duty, pilferage, sabotage, or insubordination may generally be assumed to have understood that these offenses are neither condoned nor acceptable, regardless of whether management has issued specific regulations to that effect. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2, is the rule a reasonable rule? Management must make sure that rules are reasonable based on the overall objective of safe and efficient work performance. Rules should be reasonably related to business efficiency, safe operation of our business, and the performance we might expect of the employee. All right, number 3. Is the rule consistently
Go on,
please.
Like, for example, I had a supervisor tell me, "Oh, you know what? I need you to leave these cards for tomorrow."
Okay, like you had a mail
that
you were going to deliver.
Right.
And
Okay. My stupidity is I forgot I fill out a
1571.
Or 1571. I fill out a 1571.
Okay.
And I forgot to make a copy.
Ah.
So by the time I came back, that 1571 disappeared.
Right. And now you get potentially tagged for delaying mail.
Right. So when they do the interview, though,
right.
And I said, "Did you know the rule?" And it was unreasonable. Well, the reason was I told him the 96 and saying that, hey, I was told by the management to not take it.
Right. Yeah.
So why are you going to keep punishing me because now it's a hearsay, but either way, you're the one who told me not to take it.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
And so it goes nowhere.
What would be an example of an unreasonable rule?
Yeah, that would be an unreasonable because it was management's instruction that was unreasonable because he changed his mind. That's unreasonable.
Yeah, so it's a good point. So like to me, along those lines is like you have to obey management instructions, but it has to be reasonable. So like when management tells you, I want you to deliver all the mail and get done in 8 hours.
Yeah, that's not
reasonable.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Number 3. Is the rule consistently and equitably enforced? A rule must be applied fairly and without discrimination. Consistent and equitable enforcement is a critical factor. Consistently overlooking employee infractions and then disciplining them without warning is improper.
And this is where a lot of carriers complain about no lunches because some managers will give no lunches to certain carriers,
right?
But then not to some others. Okay, that's not equitably being forced, right?
No, that's a very good point. So that's not a discipline issue, but that's a good example of equitability.
Right. And so when they talk about that, that's the equitability part.
Right.
It has to be equally treated.
Yeah. So to me, I think you might have an issue with like tardiness where...
Well, management couldn't go back and discipline a carrier saying, hey, you're doing no lunches, not following instruction or something, So
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I more reasonably to me, like might be tardiness where... a carrier gets disciplined for tardiness. Meanwhile, you've got another person who comes in late all the time and they're not gotten disciplined because they're a runner or whatever. Right. Management likes them better.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Consistently overlooking employee infractions and then disciplining without warning is improper. For example, if employees are consistently allowed to smoke in areas designated as no smoking areas, it is not appropriate to suddenly start disciplining them for this violation. In such cases, management loses its right to discipline for that infraction, in effect, unless it first puts employees and the unions, when appropriate, on notice of its intent to enforce that regulation. That came up at my station with shoes. We don't get enough money with our postal allotment to buy these green tag shoes. And so management let us know, like they did it correctly at my station. They're like, hey, you got a month to get your footwear together. And then we're going to start sending you home or issuing discipline or whatever. You're put on notice.
Yeah, but that was the past practice that was allowed before.
Yeah, but with past practice, it has to not violate existing rules. You lose the right to past practice when it violates existing rules. It's if there is no rule and it's a past practice, you can keep it going.
So where's that rule at?
It's in the EL-921. It's in...
You know that. Does the management know that?
That I don't know. I mean, and sometimes you can file a grievance just to make force management to make their case.
Well, it's like deems desirable.
Right.
Okay. And when management says, I'm going to put you in deemed desirable. Oh, what's the rule on that? Can you give me a copy or a handbook about the deemed desirable? And they can't give me any copies because there is no deemed desirable handbook.
I hear you. Right, right. What are the procedures for that? Yeah.
Can you see the procedures, how it works? Can I look at it? Well, since you're quoting this, can you give me some handbooks and manuals on how it's done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Singling out employees for discipline is another issue. If several similarly situated employees commit an offense, it would not be equitable to discipline only one. All right, that's the end of part 3. 4, was a thorough investigation completed? And this is where we get management all the time because they do shit investigations. They're not
that's
thorough.
Like we were talking about the investigative interview.
The interview, right? Exactly.
We're done with the investigative interview because you don't follow exactly what I told you.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Dude, and that's often the bulk of their, when they do their charge letter, that's where a lot of it comes from. And if that's all they did, a lot of times they screw that up, or this is where the union makes a lot of hay, is on the thorough investigation. When considering disciplinary action, management must investigate to determine whether the employee committed the offense. Management must ensure that its investigation is thorough and objective. This includes the employee's day in court privilege. Employees have the right to know with reasonable detail what the charges are and need to be given a reasonable opportunity to defend themselves before the discipline is initiated.
Day in court is like the investigative interview. Okay?
Right.
And so if management says, oh, I'm not going to give you an investigative interview anymore, we're done. Did they give you the full opportunity?
You did not get your full day in court. Right.
So therefore, they're in violation of that.
Well, I would go another step because you hear like Corey talks about this and Joshua Shrum on what is his called? Parcels of Knowledge about the charge has to be addressed in the investigative interview because you have to have a chance to defend yourself against that charge. So like one of the charges that you'll see in these stupid discipline letters is loyalty. Employees have to be loyal to the U.S. government and the post office or whatever it is. And like that didn't come up in the investigative interview. They didn't ask you about where your loyalties lie. And so how are they going to charge you with something that you didn't have a chance to defend yourself against? And to reiterate what it says in here, employees have a right to know with reasonable detail what the charges are and need to be given a reasonable opportunity to defend themselves before the discipline is initiated. The investigation should also include a review of the employee's past record in order to determine what, if any, action is appropriate and or warranted. When in doubt, supervisors are encouraged to consult with their managers or with the district labor relations office. 5.
Now,
Yeah, go ahead.
so here's the thing is, this is where, this is what management wants, right?
Of course.
To contact other people. But in reality, it is the frontline manager is supposed to issue that discipline.
Sure.
So
I got no problem with them getting advice.
So when they get advice from the upper management, whatever it is, yeah, they're getting the advice and what the rules are,
Right.
But not upper management saying, no, you need to issue that discipline.
And that's what we have.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Right. Where and some managers are very open about it, that they'll say like, look, district is insisting that I issue this discipline. Yeah. And that is not okay.
That is not okay.
No.
Because it's supposed to be frontline manager's decision, not upper management.
Exactly.
Yeah.
5. Was the severity of the discipline reasonably related to the infraction itself and in line with what with that usually administered, as well as to the seriousness of the employee's past record? So this is one of those issues with like jumping straight to a 7-day suspension or something. It's like, you better have a damn good reason why you're doing that. It goes on. The following is an example of what arbitrators may consider an inequitable discipline. If an installation consistently issues 7-day suspensions for a particular offense, it would be extremely difficult to justify why an employee with a similar record was issued a 30-day suspension for the same offense under like circumstances. There is no precise definition of what establishes a good, fair, or bad record. Reasonable judgment must be used. An employee's record of previous offenses may not be used to establish guilt in a case you presently have under consideration, but it may be used to determine the appropriate disciplinary penalty. You got something?
No.
Okay.
No, I was going to say something.
No, but this is for making sure that the discipline is progressive. You look at what they had before, and that's evidence that they've been previously warned about this issue and so on. Which, again, is why discipline is progressive, because if it's the first time we've ever talked to the carrier about that issue, going straight to a 7-day suspension seems excessive, especially if the idea is to correct the behavior.
Yeah,
6.
Which the idea of correct the behavior, but how many managers go straight to 7-day or 14-day for
It's rare.
stupid stuff?
It's rare.
They do all the time.
Oh, all right.
Like
well,
me.
not in my experience, but, you didn't, like your attendance discipline, that 7-day was on the heels of a letter of warning, right? Or
By one day.
On adjudication.
1 day
Yeah,
before it was supposed to be gone.
That's right.
One
they got
day.
it in under the wire.
They're like, oh, well, there's 1 day.
Yeah, we better get this in. Dude. All right, number 6, the last one. Was the disciplinary action taken in a timely manner? Disciplinary actions should be taken as promptly as possible after the offense has been committed. So there is no set timetable, but you can argue reasonableness, a reasonable amount of time. Reasonableness is one of those points that is kind of built for arguing. Hey, if this was such an issue, why didn't you address it when it came up? Why did you wait a month to issue discipline or whatever it is?
Yeah. it shows that there's no priority on this discipline. So why are you even doing it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
If you want to fix the problem as soon as possible, why did you wait the whole month?
Right. Yep. All right. So we still have a half hour before our interview.
It's okay.
Our next interview. So I think we're good. Okay. Moving on. Steps of the discipline process. The next section. Before issuing discipline, you should consider having a discussion with the employee for minor offenses in an effort to correct the undesirable behavior. Discussions are intended to ensure employees are aware of rules that may lead to discipline if not followed. The discussion's purpose is for the employee to correct the behavior, thereby making discipline unnecessary. However, if discipline does become necessary, well, hold on. All of this is why, they shouldn't go directly to discipline. It says it all in here. Did you try talking to them first?
Yeah, how often does that happen?
Yeah, it's very rare. However, if discipline does become necessary, remember that all discipline must be issued for just cause, as referenced above. There are multiple steps to the discipline process. Letter of warning, suspension of less than 14 days, suspension of 14 days or more, and discharge. Discussion. A discussion is not considered discipline and should be used for minor offenses. In such a case, you should let the employee know what the specific problem is and what is expected. You have a responsibility to encourage employees to correct their shortcomings. Let the employee talk. An interchange may be all that is needed. Discussions are to be held in private. Because discussions are not disciplined, they are not grievable. You should follow up to make sure the discussion was effective. If the employee corrects the questionable behavior after the discussion, let it be known that you appreciate the improvement.
Yeah, so this is where I absolutely hate our grievance settlements, where they said we're going to reduce the letter warning 7-day or whatever to a discussion.
Okay.
And no discussion actually happens.
Dude, that's such a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does the carrier supposed to know if you don't discuss about why they went down to discussion?
Because an investigative interview is not a discussion. These are different things.
Right.
Dude, I wonder if you could take a strategy of going for noncompliance if they don't actually have the discussion with the employee.
That's why if they don't discuss with the carrier and say, hey, the carrier can say, well, they reduced it down to discussion, but management never talked to me.
Right.
Use that on your contentions.
Yeah. It says discussions are not disciplined. They are not grievable. But that's different because the terms of a grievance settlement are enforceable.
Well, so because it was supposed to be reduced to discussion. So next time management says, oh, I'm going to do a letter warning.
Right.
For this time to stick the letter warning.
Did you actually have the discussion?
Then you said, did you actually have a discussion with the carrier on?
Right.
And so you can put on a contention that even though the other discipline was reduced to discussion,
never happened.
Management never discussed with the carrier.
Dude.
Put that as your
That's
contentions.
good.
Okay?
I like that a lot. Look at the brains on Michael. That's what's great, Michael. Very well done. All right, moving on. Letter of warning. A letter of warning is the first progressive step in the disciplinary process. Generally, a letter of warning should be considered when an employee has been previously notified of what the expectations are, but is failing to meet the expectations. All right, so that's pretty basic, and that's what we see, fairly frequently. Suspensions. In suspending an employee, use extreme caution in convincing yourself that the penalty is appropriate for the offense. Progressively longer suspensions may be in order to correct a situation. Suspensions require a higher level reviewing authority to thoroughly review and concur with the proposed discipline before it is initiated.
There's a discipline that I think one of the carriers that just got has no concurring official on it.
Yeah, that makes it procedurally defective.
Yeah,
I think.
And it should be thrown out.
Right. Yeah, that's something that as a steward you want to look for. Is what's the concurrence? Yep. Yeah, because they might forget.
It's in the JCAM in Article 16 where it says somebody gets issued that it has to be concurred.
I notice a lot of the stuff is word for word out of the JCAM. Yep. All right. Depending on the collective bargaining agreement, some suspensions require employees to remain on duty with no loss of pay. A no time off suspension, which is what we have as letter carriers.
Yeah, which I think is a big mistake because back in the day they used to have it where it was removed for the suspension.
Yeah,
And so stupid managers will remove all this carrier, that carrier, that carrier, that carrier. So now you got 4 or 5 bodies that's not working, and they have to mandate carriers and so forth.
Yeah,
and
it made it painful.
It made it painful for management without bodies,
especially because they'd wind up having to pay that carrier back pay.
And then they had to pay them back
when it was adjudicated. Right, and so it would make management think twice.
But now
before
they don't care because now it's a working suspension, so management don't.
It's only on paper. Yep, I agree with you. Discharge. When previous attempts to correct an employee deficiency have failed, the discharge should be considered. This should generally be a last resort. However, there are certain offenses that may warrant discharge without prior progressive discipline, e.g., acts of violence, theft, intoxication. Discharge also requires a higher level reviewing authority to review and concur with the proposed discipline before it is initiated. Before you decide that discharge is appropriate, contact your district labor relations office for guidance. All right.
It's asking on how to do it, not the upper management saying, no, you have to do that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they're concurring, not initiating.
Yeah.
Right. Level of discipline. One of the most difficult areas of discipline is the determination of the level or type of discipline to be issued for a particular offense. The Postal Service generally does not subscribe to a table of penalties for particular offenses. Rather, certain factors should be considered in addressing discipline and disciplinary action. Disciplinary action should be tailored to the particular circumstances. Need a comma in there. Items for consideration in assessing discipline include, but are not limited to, the nature and seriousness of the offense, the past record of the employee and or other efforts to correct the employee's misconduct, the circumstances surrounding the particular incident, the level of discipline normally issued for similar offenses under similar circumstances in the same installation, the employee's length of service. That's interesting because you have like what they've called in arbitrations the bank of goodwill.
I was talking about the seriousness of a discipline, right?
Uh-huh.
I know a carrier got a letter warning for looking up in the sky.
Well, there must be more to the story.
No, that's it. He looked in the sky. Therefore, he was wasting time by looking in the sky.
Wow.
Does this like a serious nature?
It does not. No, it does not. Okay, next, the effect of the offense on the employee's ability to perform at a satisfactory level. The effect of the offense on the operation of the employee's work unit. For example, whether the offense made coverage at the overtime rate necessary, whether mail was delayed, etc. Remember, the collective bargaining agreements provide that discipline be corrective in nature rather than punitive. All right, the next section, the final section, is discipline grievances. Role of the Step 1/informal Step A supervisor. Once the discipline has been issued, the employee or the union may grieve the discipline within the time limit specified in Article 15. The supervisor handling the grievance at informal Step A has the responsibility to gather all relevant documentation supporting the disciplinary action that was issued. So this is where...
I think you missed something. Did it say supervisor, right?
It does say supervisor. The
not
supervisor,
station manager, not postmaster.
Not labor relations.
Right.
The
it says supervisor.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And this is where, as a steward, when you ask for your request for information, you want all relevant documentation that was relied upon to issue this discipline. So it says here the supervisor should already have that together. They better have that
together.
Your
supervisor, not another supervisor.
Right.
Your supervisor.
Yeah, or the supervisor who issued the discipline. Right. Which should be your immediate supervisor.
Well, because if it's somebody else, now how are they supposed to know what you're doing to issue that discipline?
It's a great question. At my station right now, we have an enforcer supervisor who seems like she's just there just to issue discipline.
And that's where
she doesn't supervise carriers.
That's where our union is failing, is allowing other supervisors to issue discipline when it should be the immediate supervisor.
It doesn't necessarily say that.
I know.
But yeah, that's clearly the intent.
Because the contentions that people should be using, if it's not an immediate supervisor, they should not know what they're
There's
doing.
No working
so this looks like being punitive, so therefore it needs to be thrown out.
Right. Yeah.
Which our union is failing to use that. Yeah.
Even with all the just cause principles considered before issuing the discipline, this does not allow the supervisor to breeze through the informal Step A process with a quick grievance denied. Points which should be covered by the supervisor in any informal Step A discussion include: is there a misunderstanding on management's reasons for having initiated the discipline? On what basis does the employee or union feel that management lacked just cause? And of course, as the steward, That's what you're going to explain.
Yeah.
On what basis does the employee or a union feel the action is that the action taken is too severe? It is crucial that the supervisor handling the informal Step A grievance not only take good notes during the grievance discussion, but also advise management's formal Step A designee and for suspensions or discharge actions, the reviewing authority, that a grievance has been filed. Since the reviewing authority thoroughly reviewed the proposed discipline before it was initiated, you and the reviewing authority will be a key source of information for management's formal Step A designee. All right. So again, they got to be ready. It should be your immediate supervisor, that you're dealing with at informal Step A.
So how many times? I think this is one of the episodes I talked about where the formal A, when they go see the formal A and they're not ready to send that up, instead of waiting for the formal A from the post office to do their part of getting it ready to send it up. That's where we're failing too, is that we're allowing the post office management's formal A the time to prepare.
Right,
when
right.
they're supposed to be prepared by the time you sit down.
Dude, they should have been prepared when they decided to issue discipline.
Yeah, right there in Informal A, it says that you should be prepared.
Have it all together, all ready to go. Yeah. But dude, how many times do we hear that it gets sent up to the next level and management hasn't even had any contentions?
Right, and they go and find the stuff.
Right.
Wait a second, they're supposed to have all that ready.
Yeah. All right, role of the formal Step A designee. The formal Step A designee must look at both sides of the argument in an effort to resolve the grievance at the local level. A situation may arise where the formal Step A designee finds the discipline either unwarranted or too severe based on the facts and evidence presented at the formal Step A discussion. If so, the formal Step A designee should discuss the case with the reviewing authority and the supervisor involved before rendering a decision. Formal Step A designees must not handle grievances as though they were rubber stamping decisions that have already been made. Also, the formal Step A designee must not accept without question all statements or facts or opinions by other management personnel regarding the case, or assume automatically that the statements of facts or opinions forwarded by the union or grievance are fabrications or highly biased.
Before you continue, go back to the part about the rubber stamp. Read that one sentence again.
Formal Step A designees must not handle grievances as though they were rubber stamping decisions that have already been made.
So you mean like the decision made by the upper management to saying that you had to file that grievance?
Well, in this case, I think they refer to rubber stamping what the informal decided, that no, I'm not going to settle this. But you might be getting it from both sides. Yeah, like, obviously like these nationwide crackdowns, they don't just come out of a vacuum. It's not just a coincidence that all around the country this is being enforced, right? It's coming from higher up. Next, except to check out. It should be expect. There's a typo here. Expect to check out new facts presented at the formal Step A discussion. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It is accept. So I'm going to change it because it's a little confusing. Other than to check out new facts presented at the formal Step A discussion, the formal Step A designee should not have to develop management's case if the reviewing authority and supervisor involved have done their homework. Dude, look at that. Well done, Michael. The primary responsibility of the formal Step A designee is to review the case to determine whether just cause exists for discipline, and if so, whether the degree of discipline is appropriate. And that's it. We did it.
Yeah, as you can see, there's so many steps that management just not follow on that book. Okay, and then our union is supposed to hold them accountable on making sure they follow these rules.
Right.
And they're I just know it's just not happening. Okay, I know it's not happening in my branch, and from all the complaints from other carriers that calls me or contacts me, and the same thing goes on at other cities too. And that is a major problem that needs to be fixed nationwide. And it comes from our national officers just basically earning the free check and not doing extra stuff.
Yeah.
For years, not just Brian Renfro.
Yeah.
Okay? Because like I said before, I guess I'm ranting, but
that's all right.
But things need to be fixed because even the EL-921 management case is that you can see, I say good 50% of the stuff that was talking about, they don't follow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Right. And again, knowing this stuff empowers us, and that's why we do it, because we know this stuff and management doesn't.
Right.
And so we have the power in that relationship.
And then if you do interviewing a manager,
Sure.
one of the questions you should ask is, have you read the EL-921?
EL-921. That's a good idea. I like that. Yeah. All right. Let's get out of here, Michael.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you all next time.